Wonderful. Okay, so before we get started, I would love if everyone can actually just jump on the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. That would be great. It's always great to see where everyone is, kind of get familiarized with, our interests. Perfect. So additionally, I did want to mention, it's always great in order to keep today's event as engaging as possible. I do encourage you all to just hop on our chat box. Make sure that you have it set to all panelists and attendees. This will allow you to, post your questions and allow everyone to view your questions, and then at the same time be able to address them. So it's very important. So make sure, again, have it set to panelists and attendees, and then we'll be able to just go through your chat and, tackle any questions or concerns that you might have in today's presentation, okay? So before we get started, let's share a little bit about who we are. Okay, the New York City Data Science Academy, we're an educational training and career development institution that offer both an in-person and online data science bootcamp. New York City Data Science Academy is actually the only bootcamp that's offering both Python and R languages. So additionally, we also offer hands-on experience through 4 industry projects. That also includes a capstone project, which allows our students to be able to create and extend to their professional portfolio. On top of that, the New York City Data Science Academy provides lifelong career support. So it's definitely a valuable aspect of our school, aside from the training and all the support in academia and training that you'll receive. We do offer a lifelong career support for our alumni, and that gives you access to over 500 plus partners that we have throughout the globe. On top of that, we also, I always get very excited about sharing this part, because for 5 years running, we've been named the best data science bootcamp. And additionally, for 2 years running, we've been named the best online data science bootcamp by SwitchUp. So that just tells you a bit about our background, our history, and our reputation in regards to where we are with the data science industry. So for those who are interested in our upcoming cohorts, we do have an on-site and remote live bootcamp. I'm very, very excited to share again that we are reopening our doors to the campus beginning July 6th. So for anyone who's been waiting and is interested in returning to our campus for on-site learning, it will become available starting July 6th moving forward. Additionally, the following cohort would take place on September 27th. And for those of you who are interested in full-time and part-time online boot camps, those will also take place on July 6th. And we do have a secondary start for our August 16 boot camp online and full-time. Also, very happy to mention that we've recently introduced our data analytics online bootcamp. This is an online 12-week program. It is set to launch on Monday, July 6th as well. So we should have our hands very busy for July 6th, but we're very excited to see everyone again returning to our on-site campus and having all our new students join us, not only for our remote live or our online, and all the new students that will be joining us for a data analytics bootcamp. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the admissions process. For those of you who are interested in furthering or beginning your career in data science with the New York City Data Science Academy, the process is simple. So you want to start off with submitting an application. And submitting an application allows the admissions team to be able to review and get a little bit more acquainted with your academic and professional history. Once you've submitted an application, you then move on to an interview. And the interview will again allow us to get a bit more familiarized with your goals and how we can help identify a good fit, not only for your goals as well as for the academy in itself. Once the interview has completed, you will move into the tech assessment stage. And the technical assessment allows us to review and gauge some of the technical background and analytical background that our applicants possess. So that once all this information is collected, we're able to review your application as a whole and then provide you with, a more educated recommendation and next steps within your application for the bootcamp. So It's extremely important just to submit an application if you're interested. And even a step before that would be, if anyone is interested, you can always book an info call with the admissions team. And that allows us to just address any immediate questions that you have about the bootcamp. And we're always happy to connect with our applicants, and just kind of walk them through the admissions process. The whole goal behind this is to make the process as seamless as possible for you. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in enrolling, as I mentioned, because backtrack here a bit, sorry. Our upcoming cohorts for July 6th, the deadline is on Friday, June 18th. So definitely want to take advantage of that. I forgot to mention, we are offering a 10% discount for the upcoming sessions, and that won't be available for our September class. So definitely, if you want to take advantage of that 10% discount, it is available for our online, remote live, and in-person bootcamp. So definitely take advantage of that. And just again, as a reminder, the application deadline is on Friday, June 18th for the boot camps. Okay. In the events that we're not able to see your questions, or I'm sorry, if any questions do come up after today's events, please feel free to send us an email at admissions@nycdatascience.com. Aside from that, I will be available on the chat, so please feel free to reach out if you are interested in booking an info call. I'll make that link available on the chat as well. But we will be happy to connect with you and kind of just address any questions that you might have. And I'm excited to seeing everyone's application. And again, I don't want to take up too much time from Ryan, so I now leave you with Ryan. Okay.
Hey everyone. Thanks for tuning in and coming to see my project, and hopefully you'll find some interesting takeaways, and then afterwards there will be time for me to answer any questions you guys have about the program. Let me share my screen quick. All right, can everyone see my screen, the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yeah.
Great, thanks. All right, so before diving into the project, I'd like to say that this is the first of the 4 industry projects that Noah mentioned. And so this project was built after just 4 weeks of being in the boot camp. Previous to applying to the boot camp, I had no coding skills and knew about data science and was very interested, but hadn't ever had any data analytics experience. So this is a project put together with just 4 weeks of experience. So it'll give you an idea of what you can achieve in the first third of the program. So let's jump in. My project was entitled Extracting Insights from Amazon.com Customer Reviews. And now, before getting into the actual presentation, I'll give you a quick overview. So as we go through different areas, you'll be able to glue them all together and it'll all make sense. So overall, the project was about analyzing the distribution characteristics of online reviews when grouped at the product or service level. I also investigated how many reviews a product or service needs in order to be meaningful. And then I built a tool to help businesses extract meaning from the customer reviews of their products and services. And specifically for this project, I narrowed the scope down to the world's largest online retail marketplace, Amazon.com. And so first we're going to go through this PowerPoint, and at the very end, I'll pull up my Jupyter notebooks and show you guys some of the code that I worked through. So for the very first part, we'll just be dealing with PowerPoint. We'll go through the problem I identified, which is how to find meaning in online customer reviews. We'll look at the data that I used and the analysis I conducted. We'll summarize the results of the project, and then I'll explain the tool that I built, the program in Python that implements these results, and I'll give a quick demonstration of it. I'll touch on future extensibility for this tool, and then we'll do a Q&A session after looking at the code that's associated with the project. So to begin with, the the main question is, what do online customer ratings really tell us? We all know that a 3 out of 5 stars rating isn't really average. If something has a 3-star rating on Amazon, you're probably not going to purchase it. If an Airbnb has 3 stars, I hope you don't stay in that Airbnb. And if you see a 3-star reviewed business on Yelp, you're probably going to steer clear of it and go to a different place for your services. And if you eat from a 3-star seamless restaurant, I hope you have some Pepto-Bismol with you, because that's not likely to be a good experience. So, so knowing this, how can companies use online review information? There's known selection bias issues with this type of information where a person is self-reporting their data. And so what do we do with this biased and skewed data? How do we gain actual insight from it? Well, calculating a number or a statistic from a set of data is pretty straightforward and easy. But what's not easy is to find something that has meaning, that is robust to changes in your assumptions or changes in the exact data you're using, and something that is statistically significant, that the signal is greater than the noise. And so first we'll talk a little background about online customer reviews. Now, typically when you have crowdsourced preferences and experiences from a large, diverse group of people, typically that information exhibits a normal distribution. However, online reviews have been shown to have a J-shaped distribution, where you have a moderate number of very negative reviews, you have a small number of mid-range reviews, and then you have a very large number of very positive reviews, which appears as a capital J on a chart. This distribution is characterized as having a high level of polarity, where the very positive and very negative distributions, or the very positive and very negative ratings, are overrepresented, and the mid-range ratings are underrepresented in the distribution. And it's also characterized as having a large positive imbalance, where the number of positive ratings far outweighs the number of negative ratings. And this shape of the distribution is due to some biases that have been identified in previous work. The main one, the main bias that exhibits this polarity bias is polarity self-selection. If you're leaving a review on Amazon, you're probably not going to do it for a review that's, or for a product that is, run of the mill, it was okay. You're probably going to do it when you have a very strong positive or negative experience with a product. If you hate it, you're going to want to let people know. If you love it, you're going to want to let people know. But if you're not really that psyched about it, you're probably going to skip the review email and move on to whatever else you were doing. And so that makes the high level of polarity that's exhibited in this data. Another bias that previous studies have shown is purchase self-selection, where a consumer is more likely to be satisfied with a product than an average person in the population. And that leads to the large positive imbalance that's observed. And another bias that affects this data is the hesitancy of people to transmit negative information across large audiences with weak connections. And if you think about a personal example of this, it makes sense. If you're out to lunch with a coworker, you're probably going to end up talking trash about your boss. But if you're at a group presentation in a large group of people, some that you may not know well, you're probably only going to have good things to say about your boss. You're not going to want to be perceived as a Debbie Downer or a negative person. You're going to save that transmission of negative information for a close friend when there's only a person or two listening. And now these distributions of online reviews have been shown to be different across different users and different platforms. On the user level, the shape of a distribution will be dependent upon the number of reviews written by that user. If I write just 1 or 2 reviews for Amazon, odds are it's going to be the product I either really liked or really hated. And those are the ones I'm going to take time for to actually leave a review, to warn people or to congratulate the maker on how awesome this product is. And on the platform level, these distributions are affected by many different things. First of all, there's the scale rating. If you're asked to rate something on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, it's going to actually result in a different distribution overall than if the product's asking for a 1 out of 10 scale, or a graded on the 100-point scale, or even A through F lettering. Just the scale that's asked for is going to affect how the distribution appears. And then there's also social networking aspects, such as on Airbnb, the average rating for a stay is actually really high. And it's partially because of the social networking aspect, where the host gets to review you and you get to review the host. And the host gets to comment on your review of their property after you're done. And so people are less likely to transmit negative information in that case, and it leads to a more positively imbalanced distribution. Now, prior research in this area has focused in several different areas, particularly the entire universe of online reviews and how that distribution can be characterized and the non-normality of it explained. The reviews by individual platform and what those distributions look like, the variations from platform to platform brought on by some of the effects we just discussed earlier. And interestingly, there's been very scarce analysis of reviews grouped at the product level, which, if you think about it, as a consumer, you really care about the reviews for a product. That's a natural way to group these reviews. As a business, you really care about what customers are saying about your product. And so it's surprising that most analysis hasn't been conducted on reviews grouped at this product level. In addition, most of the previous research has been done to characterize the shape of the distribution and explain it by theory, such as biases and whatnot. And this project is really focused at, okay, now that we've seen the shape of the distribution, how can we take useful information away from it? So again, we'll talk about analyzing the distribution characteristics of online reviews when grouped at the product service level. We'll investigate how many reviews a product or service needs to be meaningful. We'll then go through the building of a tool to help businesses extract meaning from the customer reviews of their products and services. And again, the scope of this project was narrowed to Amazon.com. So now any good data science project needs some data, right? Thankfully, Amazon.com is a frequent area of research for people looking into online customer reviews. This is because the data is widely available and the popularity of Amazon lends itself to having large sample sizes. I used a data set of 82 million reviews of 9.8 million products that were left between 1996 and 2014. And these were collected by a professor at UCSD for use in his research. Now, I took this data, and to transform it for my own purposes, I grouped the individual reviews by their unique item key. And so instead of having 82 million rows of reviews, I now had 9.8 million rows of unique items. And then for each item, I aggregated values and created an average rating column, a total ratings column, and then the proportion of ratings that were present for each star rating level. And it resulted in a data frame that looked similar to the one that you see here. This is actually a snapshot taken from it. So then to get into the analysis, the first thing was to characterize the distribution of average product ratings for the products on Amazon.com. And I was fairly surprised, but when you created a histogram of the average product ratings, it made a really well-structured distribution. You can see it approximates a normal distribution with a super fat lower tail. And this is very different than the J-shaped distribution seen in other studies. And so this is a very surprising takeaway here. And just as importantly, when the exact products that were looked at in this analysis were changed, manipulated by using a number of reviews per product cutoff level, which the reason that this metric makes sense to use as a cutoff level for this analysis is the average rating for a product depends heavily on the infrequent appearance of very negative ratings, those 1 or 2 star ratings that we've seen occur sometimes, but not very frequently. And so if you don't have enough reviews for a product, you won't have those negative ratings appear in a representative proportion. And so including products that have a higher number of reviews per product makes sense. And exactly what that cutoff should be, we'll discuss later in the project. But the interesting part for this portion was that as I changed that cutoff of number of reviews per product required to be included in this analysis, the distribution, the shape of the distribution didn't really change that much. The distribution stayed very robust for changes in the number of products included in the study. And we're not talking about adding 1,000 or 2,000 products to a fairly set distribution. The difference between the 25 reviews per product and the 300 reviews per product included in this graph are 21 times the number of products in the 25 reviews per product distribution. So you can see wildly different data sets, but very similar distributions. And this allows us to, once we have results later in this study, to project them to a wider range of products than just the ones we looked at due to the robustness of the distribution. Now, if we look at the individual reviews inside of a product category, so if you look at one product and how the individual reviews for the product are distributed, you see this J-shaped distribution that other studies have talked about. You see there's a lot of 5-star ratings on average for a product and not many ratings in the 2 to 3 star range, the mid-range. And then there's an increase in the number or the proportion of 1-star ratings. And so we do see this J-shaped distribution that other studies have seen once we look inside of the product groupings. And of note, this proportion, this distribution of proportions was also fairly robust to changes in the number of products included in the analysis, which again, lets us feel comfortable projecting our results onto a greater set of products on Amazon.com. So now that we have this histogram that shows the distribution for average product ratings on Amazon, we can create a cumulative frequency table where we now, given an average rating for a product, can place it into a percentile range for all products on Amazon. I know if I have a product that has a rating of about, looks like 4.25 or so, it's going to be at about the 50th percentile of all products on Amazon. That's a very powerful thing to be able to order a product amongst all other products. And it'll be used later in the creation of the tool for this project. But now that we have that information, the next step is to find out how many reviews it takes for a product to have a meaningful average for a single product. This is important because previous studies have shown that for platforms like Amazon.com, roughly 5 to 15% of reviews are negative reviews. And so you have to have enough ratings per product for these negative reviews to show up in a representative manner. And now, in order to look into this, I decided to conduct a random sampling on a typically distributed product. And so I sorted my data set to find a product that had a average product rating, right about the median for all products on Amazon, and had individual star ratings proportions, very similar to the medians observed across the whole entire universe of products. And when I did that, I found a product with these characteristics that had a large number of reviews. It had 14,000 reviews. And then I conducted random sampling on this item for testing the range of potential values when drawing 25 ratings from this known distribution of 14,000 reviews for this product. I set up a program to 5,000 times draw 25 samples from these reviews and find the average of that sample. And then for those 5,000 averages, I plotted them on a histogram, as you can see here, and was able to get an idea for the variance in the variance of the observed average compared to the true known average for that product that I used. And I found that as I included more samples in the per trials draws. I went from 25 reviews per trial up to 75 to 150 to 300. The distribution of where those sample averages appeared tightened up considerably. And so I found that by the time I got to 300 reviews per product, the 90% confidence interval was roughly plus or minus 0.1 stars from the observed average. And the importance of this is when looking at the histogram for all product average on Amazon, this plus or minus 0.1 stars confidence interval allows you to place a product onto this histogram when the count is, or when the variance is significantly wider, as it is in the 25 ratings per sample, where you can go from 3.8 stars to 4.6 stars on a trial average, given the same population of reviews. You can see 3.6 stars to 4.6 stars. That covers most of the range of products on Amazon. So you can't take much useful information from that. But once you tighten it up significantly by including more reviews in each trial, you can now know, okay, if my product is of an average or a typical average rating, I can place it onto this histogram in a meaningful manner. And that's pretty important. So as a little recap of the results from this, we can see that for products with more than 300 reviews, the mean product rating was 4.17 stars. The median was 4.27 stars. So once you get in the 4.2 to 4.3 star range for a product, you're looking at a fairly typical product on Amazon. And then the positive imbalance in the data was also observed when looking at individual ratings. Each product had a median 5-star ratings proportion of 61% and a median 1-star ratings proportion of 5%. So those infrequent negative ratings were very important for determining the average of each product. And then looking over to the sample size cutoff, it was determined that a 300 review minimum for a product will yield results within a reasonable confidence interval of about plus or minus 0.1 stars. So with this info, we can now correlate a product's average rating to a percentile and where it falls in comparison to all products on Amazon. And we can also determine if this result is statistically meaningful or if it is subject to extreme variation as more customer reviews are written for a product. So to do a little recapping, we've gathered the data, we've gone through the analysis, we've compiled our results, and now it's time to build our tool. So there are a couple steps in the construction of the Python program I wrote for this program. The first step after finishing the analysis was to generate concise, compact data sets for the tool to use. I wanted a fast, speedy tool, and I didn't want to have to be sorting through 9.8 million products every time it needs to do calculations. So I made some new data sets in order for the tool to use. And then importantly, I had to decide on what the desired output of the tool was. It's like, how do I encourage appropriate use of this tool by people who don't fully understand the model behind it? That's a big question. So then after that, I actually wrote the Python script, tested and debugged it, and we'll get into a demonstration of it soon. So the point of deciding on the desired output, this was very important. I wanted to both provide useful information and highlight the limitations of the tool. The main goal was to prevent overconfidence in the results that a user got when using this tool. And so I settled on an output from the program that returns the product percentile rank, which is the main piece of information that users will be interested in, and includes the confidence interval, as well as some advice on how to tighten the confidence interval in the future. And then for the script itself, the user inputs the reviews for a specific product, and the tool calculates the percentile ranking, where it falls in relation to all the other products on Amazon.com. And then the tool conducts the random sampling process discussed earlier, using the inputted review count by the user. And so we'll go through a short demonstration of the tool itself now, which runs straight from the command line. Welcome to the Amazon Product Review Scoring Tool. It's created by me for this project. This tool will provide information about how the reviews for a specific product on Amazon.com compared to other products' reviews on the sites. So now I'll enter in a number of reviews for a fairly typical product on the site. Let's say it has 560 5-star reviews and 124 4 stars, 34 3-star reviews, 40 2-star reviews, and 51 1-star reviews. And then the tool will give us some results. It says the product average rating is better than 59% of products on Amazon. That's great. We know we have a slightly above average product, right? That's useful information. Statistically, there is a 90% certainty that the product is better than between 53 to 66% of Amazon products. That's also really great to know. We know that the 59% number is a best guess, but that the real takeaway is that we have a slightly above average to pretty decent product, right? A 53rd percentile to 66th percentile product. And then the next line, running this tool when the product has more reviews will help tighten this range. That's great to know as well. When you come back and after some time and there's more reviews to plug into the tool, you'll get a more accurate result, right? So then let's look what happens in the case of a not so frequently reviewed product. Let's say this product has the same average rating, but only has 1/10 of the reviews. So let's say it has 56 5-star reviews and 12 4-star reviews, 3 3-star reviews, 4 2-star reviews, and 5 1-star reviews. You should get slightly different information. So product average rating is better than 61% of the products on Amazon. It's pretty darn close to how it was before, right? However, because of the relatively small number of reviews, it is only 90% certain that the product is better than between 40 to 82% of Amazon products. Now that's really important to know. If you just knew this 61% percentile, you'd think you'd have a very precise result. But it turns out, in fact, that your product is somewhere from not that great to really darn good. And so it's hard to take useful information away from this, and it's very important to know that as a user. So to tighten this range, it is recommended that a product have at least 300 reviews before using this tool. And now if we go the other way, so we look at an extremely well-reviewed tool or extremely well-reviewed product that has a similar average in the end. So we'll say it has 56, let's load the program again. We'll say it has 5,600 5-star reviews and 1,240 4-star reviews, 340 3-star reviews, 400 2-star reviews, and 510 1-star reviews. We'll get a result with a similar product average rating, right? 59%, very similar to what it has been. But now, statistically, there is a 90% certainty that the product is better than between 57 to 61% of Amazon products. So now we have a lot of information to take away. We know that our product is definitely slightly better than average. That's very important to know the difference between the above 40 to 80% range for where this product could fall to the now 57 to 61% range. So clearly the review count for a product in Amazon has a very big impact on the information we can take away from it. So yeah, this was the tool I built, and that's how it works. We'll get back to the presentation. So now thinking about future extensibility of this tool, there's a couple different directions I'd like to go with it. First is I'd really like to get a newer data set, preferably post-COVID. During the pandemic, there was a huge amount of change that happened in the world, right? New people came into the online marketplace, and a much wider demographic of people started shopping for goods online. And consumer behavior also changed. So it'd be very interesting to see how online review distributions have changed post-pandemic, given the large change in the people who are actually shopping online. And then another area that I'd like to look into is to extend this tool to not just products on Amazon, but to services. Yelp is one of the top business review sites, and it has a very rich data set available for academic use straight from Yelp. And so I'd like to see if this tool's usefulness extends to ranking businesses relative to one another, not just products. And in addition, there's hundreds of different websites on the web that all collect user reviews of their products or services. And it'd be very interesting to see just what this tool could be generalized to. And then most interesting, most importantly, I believe, is increase the utility of the tool itself. So increase the usefulness of the program. Right now, it is a descriptive analysis. It tells a company or a business where its product fits in alongside all the others in Amazon. But I'd like to turn it into a prescriptive tool where, using natural language processing, I can find similarities in the text reviews of very negative reviews and the text reviews of very positive reviews. And when outputting the output from this program to a user, I can include information that says, customers in general like this about your product. Customers in general don't like this about it. And then that would turn from just a description of what your product is to a prescriptive tool that can help you improve your product. Yeah, and so that's the PowerPoint, and we'll walk through the Jupyter notebooks really quick. And you know, if you don't have them up, not a problem. You can just follow along on my screen. It's really just to show you what goes into a data project. This is the end of the takeaways and the cool tools, and now it's just, let's look under the hood at a data project and see what really goes on. And so to begin with, whenever you have a data set that you're going to use, after asking a question of what you want to solve and finding the data set, you gotta learn a little bit about the data itself. And so I spent 2 short notebooks just poking around the data, seeing what this data set that I had found from the UCSD professor, what it actually included. And so here is just another inspection of the data, just seeing what's going on inside of it. And you can see already I'm starting to group by reviews per product to get an idea for how frequently reviewed products are in this database. And now, after having poked around the data for a little bit, I said, okay, I need to get this data in a form that I can use for my product. But there's 82 million rows, and I didn't want to try and transform 82 million rows all at the same time. And so as I was doing this, I actually created a smaller sample of items to conduct my initial transformation on. And I go through and I transform the data in these notebooks. And I find that actually, as I'm transforming the data to get it into a form I want, which this should look similar to what we've seen in an early slide in the presentation, I find that not all the data is coming through. And so I need to go back and reevaluate what I'm doing, find out why I'm introducing null values into the data set, address it, and then move forward. If I was to do this whole process on the full data set, that would have been a nightmare. And so to do it on a small subset is very, very useful. And then I go through and transform the full data set using the same technique I did for the sample set. And then we get into the data analysis portion, where I'm now doing exploratory data analysis. I'm looking at some statistics about the data, and I'm graphing relationships that I'm seeing as I'm exploring things. And And you can see some of these visualizations I'm generating look a lot like what I have in the presentation, but formatted in a very unappealing manner. And that's to see as you're poking around, looking for relationships, looking for conclusions. This is the first step of it. And then as I go further in my analysis and I have an idea of what I'm going to be presenting, I then generate nicer looking charts to succinctly convey the points I'm trying to make. And then I have a whole nother Jupyter notebook that's dedicated to the sample size cutoff analysis, where I'm creating a program to conduct this random sampling, and I'm doing it over different product cutoff ranges. And so by the time I get to this portion of the notebook, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be presenting, and I've seen how this relationship works. But I can't present these 6 graphs to a consumer of information. It doesn't make much sense. And so I format a graph that succinctly and clearly tells a story I'm trying to convey. And sometimes that's not a simple process. And yeah, so that's the Jupyter notebooks. And then looking into the tool itself. There we go. Looking into the tool itself, the Python script I wrote for the review tool, it's actually pretty succinct. There's 140 lines or so, and it's structured in a very simple manner. I have a couple functions that help me do the analysis, and then I have a main function that walks a user through the program. So I have some formatting for the input that a user provides. I have my performing the sample size analysis on the reviews that are inputted. I have placing the average rating onto the cumulative frequency table that we had seen before to give the percentile ranking for a product. And then this main function here is the input prompt and the calling of all the helper functions, and then the output prompt depending on the circumstances of the input. And yeah, that all comes together into a project that I'm pretty proud of to be able to do after just 4 weeks of time in the boot camp. So yes, I would now open up to everyone. Does anyone have some questions, either about the project itself or about the boot camp in general? I'm happy to share anything about my experience you guys would like to know.
At the very beginning, Yon asked how we get out of high level of polarity.
Yeah, so the high level of polarity in these distributions of online reviews, if you wanted to get out of it, if you wanted to have that polarity not present in your data set, then there would be 2 main things, or I guess really particularly one main thing. Prior research has shown that when a user's on your platform leave more reviews and review more of the products that they buy or they purchase, then the polarity actually decreases. You're getting less of the extremely bad and extremely good experiences, and you're getting more of the average experiences that a user has. So if you wanted to get out of or if you wanted to reduce the polarity of your data, you can't do it on an existing data set. But if you're a company gathering reviews, really you would try and encourage users to leave as many reviews as possible and get their full spectrum of preferences, not just what they really like and what they really dislike.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
also, can you elaborate on the calculation to get the 90% confidence range? What steps did you take to have that feature?
Yeah, so we can do this using some of the stuff that I had shown. First, and maybe best, would be to take a look at the actual code for it, and then we'll go to the presentation and see how that looks graphically. So for the reviews cutoff analysis, to get to the 90% confidence interval, it was the random sampling procedure that allowed me to create these distributions that I'm creating a confidence interval for. And so if we look at the code for how you create this distribution, how you conduct random sampling, you, what's the best way to say it? So you pull randomly however many reviews you're looking for as your specific cutoff level. Say we're looking at 25 ratings per product cutoff level. I will use using a random choice generator. I'll pull out 25 reviews from all the ratings that are associated with this typical product that I found that had the 14,000 reviews. Remember, I found one specific product that had 14,000 reviews that had a average product rating very close to the median on Amazon, and individual star ratings distributions very close to the median star ratings distributions. So I found a product that looked as typical as possible, and then drew out samples of reviews from that product. And one thing that's really nice is when you draw out samples and find an average for those samples, even if the distribution you're drawing from is non-normal, those averages will produce a normal distribution, which you can see here in these histograms. And so I was able to find, for each observation here, this is an accumulation of 5,000 observations from my random sampling. I was able to place the calculated average for each sample into this chart. And so this is a accumulation of the 5,000 different trials. And now the confidence interval is seeing this as a roughly normal distribution. It's the lower limit and upper limit that include 90% of the observations in this sampling process. And so as you can see, as I increase the number of ratings per trial in those 5,000 trials, the averages group closer and closer together. So the range of values seen decreases and the confidence intervals get tighter and tighter and tighter. Does that answer your question? All right, where were we? Who else has questions?
In the chat.
How do we get the CSV data set? That's actually something I can share with you. Where
Yes,
is
I
that?
see you have the like you are not getting for any database. Are you just you can share the data with us, or are you?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. There's a link to it in the blog post I have associated with this project. So I'll go to the blog post and put the link in the chat for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And if you're interested in seeing more projects like this, the New York City Data Science website has a blog section with a lot of student projects. And so many of them are on here, and you can look into these further. And so here is the hyperlink to the data set I used. And there's actually a newer data set available, but you have to get approval from Professor Macaulay to use it before he'll send you the link to it. But that's where you should look for the data set.
Oh, thank you. Can you share also the link you say we can find different projects? The New York City.
Yeah, of course.
I just sent it in the chat.
Oh, thank
We have
you.
like 2,000 blogs with all like student projects. It's really interesting. You guys can like navigate it through.
So another question, then your model product.
Yeah, I asked that. I was the guy. Thanks, Ryan. That was very interesting. I was just wondering. I asked the question about how you did that 90% confidence range, and but so you're basing everything, your confidence interval, you're basing it of this one model product. But how do we know that the variance of products that are rated maybe on average lower than this model product? So how do we know that the variance might change, right? So the confidence interval might change.
Yeah, so there's a slight difference here. I understand what you're saying, and my explanation would be that when I'm pulling out these samples and looking at the variance of the averages of these samples, that variance doesn't so much depend on the variance of the product. It depends on the number of reviews pulled from that product. And I chose, as far as an internal set of reviews inside that model product, I chose the product that has closest to the typical distribution of internal reviews, closest to those median individual star ratings categories. And so
right. So maybe it doesn't. So you're saying that the variance doesn't change that much, regardless of what the average rating is for the product.
Right, because the variance is really dependent on the number of reviews I'm pulling from that model product, not on the average rating of that model product. Either way, no matter what the average rating for that model product is, those samples will group around that actual population average. And so it would just, I believe it would just change the position of these histograms, but not the widths of them.
Okay, yeah, because it could be that maybe lower rated products have a higher spread, and then that confidence range is not the same for every
Yeah, that is a good point.
review. Yeah.
That could be another future area of work in the project, is to investigate that and see just how the variance changes with product rating.
Yeah. Okay. No, but that was interesting. That was a clever solution. I was thinking that when I asked the question, because when you said you did that, I was like, how do I do that? And now I get. So that's an interesting solution. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. What was my process for narrowing down the data set to a manageable size? Well, to begin with, I calculated the average product rating for all of the 9.8 million products. So I didn't narrow it down at all. But I had less rows in my data set because I aggregated data. And then from that point, the way I narrowed down the 9.8 million products to include less products was through this sample size analysis, finding what reviews per product cutoff level would provide me with a tight enough confidence interval to be able to place a product specifically, like, into a specific area of this histogram. So that was the process for that. And the part of the project where I showed that the reviews distribution was fairly consistent over different product sizes, different product counts, was why I was able to generalize these results to more than just the 25,000 products and the 300 reviews per product cutoff level. I was able to generalize it towards the 530,000 products in the 25 reviews per product level because the distribution stayed fairly consistent.
I had a follow-up question then.
Mhm.
In Amazon, there's a natural culling of poorly rated products. If a product is not going to be rated, if it's going to be poorly rated, let's say you had only 5 ratings and every rating was a 1, they'd probably drop it from the website. Were you able to explore that in your project?
No, I didn't even know that. So thank you for that information. But no, I didn't explore how Amazon treated products and how they culled them. I took the 82 million reviews from this professor's research that he had as a massive set of reviews, and I assumed that this set of reviews imitated or modeled the entire set of reviews on Amazon. And so I didn't look into limitations of was the data representative of all of Amazon or not. My hunch is that even if unpopular products are culled and there's a survivorship bias, my hunch is that it wouldn't change how I would have ran my analysis, because those products would no longer be sold on Amazon and I wouldn't be comparing my product to them. And in addition, I've already established that a product needs a decent amount of reviews in order to have good information. And so a product that has 5 negative reviews, I don't know if the appearance of that would significantly change the analysis I had. But that is definitely a very good point, that maybe that data set wasn't completely representative of the population of Amazon.com products. That's something that probably should be looked into further for the project.
Thanks a lot. It was a good project.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, by the way, David is an alumnus at the NYC Data Science Academy as well. So like he did all the 4 projects and graduated in the last cohort, I think.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for showing
Yeah.
up to see my presentation. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks for the shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions? If not, if you guys want, you can leave your email in the chat so I can send you guys the GitHub repository, his blog post. It's really interesting, and you guys can check out also like the other links. And thank you, Ryan, for this amazing presentation. I hope you guys had a lot of fun, like listening and learning. And this was one of the 4 projects, and he's gonna have more soon, but we'll see how it goes. And as Noah said, we're gonna have our next cohort starting on July 6th. And if you guys apply by June 18th, there's gonna be a 10% discount. So like, yeah, set up a meeting with Noah, he's really nice. And if you guys are in the NYC area, we're gonna have also on campus, so in-person classes, so we can see actual people. And I see that some of you joined in late. So if you guys also want the YouTube link, I can send it to you as well. Just leave your email in the chat. I'll send everything.
And if anyone has any questions about the Academy and would like to ask me, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn with questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna also write your LinkedIn profile so like everyone can stay connected. We have like a really good mentoring style here. Any other questions? It was a really interesting presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question about like this data analytics like bootcamp. It can be taken like full time, or it can be like you are like, if you have a like full-time job, how much time it needs to dedicate to this bootcamp?
For the data analytics, this is a fairly new bootcamp.
Right.
There's a part-time, so you can like do it on your own pace. So you can put like 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. It's up to you because it goes out on your own pace.
Okay, so instead of 3 months, it would be take longer probably.
Yeah, it can be longer if it's needed. And we have lots of like professionals working full-time taking our bootcamp. So I don't think it's gonna be a real problem. And our professors are really nice. So if you have questions, they're gonna answer them.
Sure. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'll send you the link in the chat to schedule a meeting with Noah. But yeah, I'll also like put it in the email. Here. Yeah. Oops. Here. Oops, I sent it 3 times. But yeah, you can schedule a call with him. He's really nice and he's gonna tell you everything about it.
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? If not, I'm gonna close the meeting in like 5 minutes. Feel free to stay around and ask questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.